and then we can kind of dive in from there. Maybe we'll wrap up with market talk at the end. So had a pretty big couple of weeks. Honestly, it's been wild. Also, first, let me mention my new sign. I don't know if you guys saw. Everything's opposite.
You added the LeoDex.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So someone got me that as a gift, and now I've got LeoDex and INLEO behind me. So these are like metal signs. Like they're legit. Like they're real. They're not a green screen. I'll prove it. You probably hear that.
That's funny.
I know people ask if those are like green screened in. They're not. They're like legit sheet metal. So they're pretty sick. So yeah, we got LeoDex and INLEO now on there. Good timing because we've got a lot happening with the Leo economy and changing it to essentially utilize the LeoDex INLEO kind of synergy better, I would say. So a big piece of that is right now the Leo token is really only focused at INLEO, right? Like the tokenomics are entirely the tokenomics are entirely designed for INLEO, post rewards, curation rewards, etc. And the new changes are to keep all that the same, but add in the new LeoDex economy aspect of things to the whole ecosystem, and then also make the author curation rewards more viable in terms of economics over time. So we've had this inflationary model for 6 years now since Leo was launched, and I actually think it's a really good thing. Like we've Self-Help Patrol said Twitter is buggy as fuck. Yeah, try the YouTube. I linked it in the. If you refresh the Threadcast, I linked it at the top. It should be working a lot better. I also linked it in the actual Threadcast itself, but yeah, so the changes that the change to the tokenomics of INLEO, I think, got a lot of people talking about it. That's to be expected. That disclaimer that Task gave when we first talked about it a couple weeks ago was, keep in mind that nothing is changing from a user perspective. Like as a user, the mechanics are all the same. So everyone was asking kind of basic questions like, well, what happens with upvoting? What happens with posting? Why would anyone use INLEO? Like basic questions like that. And it's, everything works identically. So when you curate someone, when you upvote them on INLEO, they earn some Leo and you earn some Leo. When you post blogs or threads or shorts, those all get posted to Hive blockchain, and they earn Hive rewards, and then they earn Leo rewards as well. So all that remains the same. All the mechanics remain the same. Even the author curator split remains the same. So literally everything is working identically to how it is working now. Buzzing in my ear. So all the mechanics work exactly the same. It's just the difference is the question of where does that inflation come from, or where do those rewards come from, I should say. And right now the answer is inflation. So those rewards are inflationary. The answer after these changes is that those rewards come from buybacks. So the Leo token gets bought back, and then it is distributed to users who author blog posts or threads or shorts, or the curators who curate content. So anyone who's upvoting threads, blogs, or shorts is earning, and then the people who are creating them are earning literally the identical way it works right now. So what I expect to actually happen is the amount of Leo you earn is going to be a lot lower because it's driven solely by buybacks and not inflation. So you'll be earning less Leo tokens, but that being said, the value of the Leo that you earn should increase over time. because the Leo tokenomics are being improved in terms of not diluting the shares that exist. So think of it this way: right now, every day new Leo is created and distributed to people who will use INLEO. Under these new changes, there's no new Leo being created, and the bridge revenue, so that's when people bridge to Arbitrum or BSC or Polygon, there's a small percent fee that's taken, and every time someone does a bridge transaction, the revenue from that gets burnt. So now Leo is actually deflationary because you've got no inflation, and then you've got the bridge revenue burning the token. So Leo will be deflationary, and then the rewards pool is all buyback driven, so that creates a permanent buyer on the INLEO side of things. And then on the LeoDex side of things, as we talked about, Leo is and I'm putting this in quotes right now because the exact time frame isn't determined yet, but for say roughly a 4-month period of time, the 100% of the LeoDex revenue is going to buy back the Leo token and put it in a protocol-owned liquidity account. And in that account, it will just keep buying up Leo, buying more, and it permanently stakes it. So it permanently stakes that Leo that it earns in the new staking contract that we're going to launch on Arbitrum. So you'll be able to stake Leo into this Arbitrum contract. And the protocol-owned Leo that's going to be out there, after 4 months, again in quotes, because it could be 3, could be 5, we don't know, something like that. After 4 months, the LeoDex revenue will now be distributed to anyone staking Leo in the Arbitrum contract, and it'll be so the affiliate revenue is earned in like Rune, Cacao, and USDC. It'll all be converted to USDC, and then it'll be deposited into the staking contract every single day. And that staking contract, anybody can then go to the Leo page on LeoDex that isn't live yet but will be, and they'll be able to harvest their rewards as USDC. So each day you get a proportional share of the LeoDex affiliate revenue as USDC in the harvest contract. So you'll be able to harvest USDC, and that's what you get for staking Leo on LeoDex. And the protocol also stakes Leo and gets to harvest USDC each day. So whatever the protocol-owned Leo harvests in terms of daily USDC, it takes that USDC and then buys Leo with it. And then it stakes the Leo that it just bought that day, so that the next day rolls around and the protocol-owned Leo is slightly higher. So that means that it earns slightly more USDC the next day. So then the next day rolls around, it earns slightly more USDC. It then uses that USDC to buy more Leo, deposits it in the staking contract so that the next day rolls around, and again, it earns more USDC, then it buys more Leo, and that process just keeps repeating forever. So what you can imagine happening is that, and this is all inspired by TCY, which, I'm like I said, I was pretty heavily involved at launch, like on the LeoDex side of things, making sure that LeoDex worked for TCY, learning obviously everything about TCY. And I think the tokenomics there are just really, really amazing. So I wanted to kind of take a lot of inspiration from that for what we do here with the Leo changes. So that protocol-owned Leo continues to just accumulate more and more Leo, which means that not only is Leo, there's no inflation, so the supply is now capped, it can never be changed. So whatever the supply is on the day of these changes, that is the final supply of Leo. It can only go down from there. And how it goes down is every time someone bridges, like I said, percent of the bridging, the total bridged amount is a fee. That fee is burned because it's collected as Leo. So Leo actually becomes deflationary. And then you've got INLEO buying back Leo in order to distribute author and curation rewards. And then you've got LeoDex that has the protocol-owned Leo, which is earning USDC and then using the USDC to be a permanent buyer of Leo. And then it buys and permanently stakes and just keeps repeating that process. So the total amount of Leo in circulation will be decreasing over time from a deflation standpoint. And then also from a protocol-owned Leo standpoint, it will own more and more Leo every day. So it is up and to the right in terms of how much Leo it owns. So I think this environment creates a much better, price action for Leo, not only today, but in the future. And I always say, well, you can't have all these things without any, basically what is the catch, right? Like there's always a catch. The catch is if LeoDex and INLEO revenues don't grow, then the Leo token, it will, like I said, like it's going to be, as long as $1 is traded on LeoDex and, at least one user is premium on INLEO, there is some amount of revenue. So it's north of $1, it's north of $10. There's some level of revenue. But the catch is you need that revenue to grow over time in order for the token to perform well. So all these changes create an environment for Leo to perform well. But the catch is the trading volume on LeoDex really being the lead indicator needs to grow over time. Otherwise, there's no point. So we create the environment for it to succeed, and then for it to actually succeed in that environment, you need the revenues to grow. So that's kind of my synthesis of. Obviously, I've had a lot of conversations with you guys over Threads since the last AMA, last Tuesday, because we announced these changes, and then people have just been asking a bunch of questions. So those are the changes that are coming to the Leo token side of things. On the LeoDex side of things, we've been pushing a ton of updates. I mean, literally, there's probably like 2 or 3 different updates we push on a daily basis. So we now have Zcash trading live, thanks to Maya Protocol added it, and we were actually the first UI to have Zcash live in terms of trading. Zcash is fully live, and then we just rolled out the sending UI. So I know a lot of you guys were asking for that as well. So now you can send any cryptos, from your connected wallet on LeoDex. So the send UI is live. You'll see it if you go to leodex.io. You'll see send next to swap, so you can just switch between the 2 tabs. And we also, with the sending UI, added the ability to add contacts, so you can save not only an address, but you can also save the asset that you typically send to that address. So for example, let's say that you have like a specific USDC Arbitrum address that you frequently send to. You can save that address as a USDC Arbitrum contact, so that every time you go to the send UI, you just click that contact, and then it pre-fills the send, page with USDC and the Arbitrum address that you have saved as a contact. So it's like it makes it like super fast. It's just like, okay, I frequently send crypto here. Click the address, it pre-fills the asset that I usually send and the address to send it to, and then literally all you have to do is type the amount, and if there's a memo, it's optional. If there's a memo, you type the memo, and then you hit send, and then it's done. So, I make a lot of frequent crypto transfers, and kind of designed this as like my dream page in terms of sending crypto, which is like you're always worried you're going to send it to the wrong place. You're always worried if the address is right, and then you obviously have all the steps that you have to go through usually on a centralized exchange, especially where you have to go to the withdraw page, and you have to click the asset, then you have to paste the address, then you have to use your authenticator. LeoDex does not do any of that. So you just literally go to the send tab, you click on a frequently used contact, it pre-fills everything, you just type the amount, and then you hit send, and it'll have a little confirmation to, obviously you should always double check where you're sending and make sure the address is right. So get that confirmation window, hit confirm, and then you're done. Roxy said speed matters. I agree. Speed is very important. Those are the kind of broad-based changes. You've got the Leo token changes are really kind of the focus right now, and then adding features like the sending UI, Zcash, and a few other things. And then I would say the next big change on the LeoDex side of things is that we're getting ready for XRP. So
nice.
So Thorchain is adding XRP.
Before you transition to like put a bow on everything you're just talking about, I mean, the headline item to that whole thing is basically moving from inflationary to deflationary, because at the end of the day, it's like every coin with a continuous supply is basically modeling the US dollar, which has been devalued every day of its existence since it was launched, especially since, it went off the gold reserve in the 70s. So that point alone, I think, needs to be just harped on, so to speak, in terms of how that's a positive change. And then again, rewards will, it's like the volume of rewards will reduce, but the potential value and likely the value of those rewards are going to be better, or have the potential to increase much more than in the inflationary environment, where you're basically just devaluing your currency. No matter what you do, almost, it's going to devalue, so to speak. It's going to be hard for number to ever go up. So just the fact that fundamental change is happening gives a much better chance of the value of a token in general to go up. Obviously, demand could still be outweighed by supply. There could still be more sellers in theory, but you're working with a finite pot now, which, I mean, case in point, look at Bitcoin. So super interesting to see how it plays out over the next year. But anyway, moving along. So XRP, that's huge news for LeoDex.
Yeah, well, and like you said, this all, and that's why I think you have to say we're creating the environment for Leo to succeed. Like right now, I think the environment is for Leo to not succeed. That being said, we've had 6 years of, and I've been talking to a lot of people in the cross-chain space on X, about the Leo token. They've been asking questions about it. And, one thing that we have uniquely that other people don't have is usually there's just people have VCs and a team mint and unlocks. Leo doesn't have any of that. We have no VCs. We have no team stake. We have no unlocks that are coming. Any Leo that's out there was a completely fair launch, where for the last 6 years you could mine Leo. So everyone had an equal opportunity to go to INLEO. Obviously the different iterations of INLEO over the years utilize the platform to create content and curate content and earn Leo. So that's created this holder base of well over 1,000 wallets that have earned Leo over the years, and it's spread our token out without any unlocks or crazy VC shenanigans. So the token has had a fair launch and now is widely distributed. So it's actually while I am kind of talking down about inflation, obviously it's not a good thing in terms of price and price action. Over the years, it has been a really good tool for growing Leo and INLEO into what it is today. So inflation can be good when you're in a early growth stage and you're trying to, spread the token out. You're trying to get new users. In that scenario, the inflation has been very helpful to spread the token out. It's a way for people to essentially have mining rewards. Just the same as Bitcoin. Like the early days of Bitcoin is, you had this fair launch, everybody could start mining Bitcoin, and every block, Bitcoin got distributed to more and more holders. Leo has had much the same, for the last 6 years, where every block, there's been, roughly 0.2 Leo created on Hive. So every block, you have a little bit of Leo created, and everyone who's creating and curating content earns a little bit of Leo, and then it spreads out into a bunch of hands. So now what we're doing is we're saying, okay, we've had 6 years of spreading the token out and allowing people to mine it. Now we're cutting that off so that you can't just mine tokens through inflation anymore. There's no more inflation, and now you can earn the token by adding value to the ecosystem, which in the case of INLEO is to create content and curate content the same way you do now. But instead of inflation, you're earning from buybacks. So the success of how much Leo can be earned each day on INLEO is directly now correlated to the scalability of the revenue on INLEO. So getting more premium users, increasing the ad revenue, increasing the creator subscription revenue, and any future models that we decide to create, increasing the usage of INLEO in general is how you see the revenue grow, which means that the rewards pool grows, in direct proportion to that. So yeah, I think it creates a much better aligned incentive. I saw a good question about selling that I wanted to address. Lord Shah said, will buying Leo every day make it raise in value? What if the users dump the Leo rewards through INLEO? Will it create volatility? So that's a good question. So, the way to look at it is every day Leo will get bought off the market by INLEO. which is INLEO in terms of the accounts that earn premium revenue, so Leo Pool and creator subscriptions revenue, and then in the future ads revenue. So that Leo gets bought every day and then deposited into the rewards pool contract. The rewards pool contract then pays out Leo to anyone who creates content or curates content on INLEO. So you've already got 100% buy pressure, right? At the beginning, you've got 100%. So that means that 100% of the revenue bought Leo, it's all buy pressure with no sell pressure. The sell pressure comes in with, so it starts at 100%. You can look at it as like a meter, right? Or look at it as like a gas tank, right? You start at full. And then once the Leo is distributed via the rewards pool, that meter is going to start to come down. How much it comes down is dependent on the people earning it. So do the people who earn it sell, or do they hold it and stake it? Do they move it across the bridge to Arbitrum and then stake it on LeoDex? I think some material percentage will do that. You can foresee that it's going to be some mixture of that, right? Like some will sell, some will stake, some will move it to Arbitrum. It's just going to be a very solid mixture of those things. But if you can assume that not 100% of the Leo will get sold, right? Like I think it's pretty reasonable to say that the users of INLEO are not going to sell every single Leo they earn. So if 1,000 Leo gets paid out every day, the odds of exactly 1,000 Leo, that entire amount getting sold each day, are pretty low. I think there's a good chance to say at least 10% is not going to get sold, right? So I would say it could be anywhere from 10 to 100% that gets sold. So again, I think you look at it as like a gas tank that gets refilled every day. So the buybacks are 100% buy pressure. Then the gas tank is full, and then say that half of the people sell the rewards that they get, and the other half, move them to Arbitrum or stake them on INLEO. So you can either stake it on LeoDex or you can stake it on INLEO, depending on which rewards you want to earn. So you stake it on, you assume that 50% gets sold. Well, now you've got 50% buy pressure, right? It's not that you actually don't have any sell pressure relative to the starting point. So you have 50% buy pressure instead of 100%. So I hope that makes sense. I was trying to illustrate that, where, even if 100% of the rewards on INLEO get sold now, like with the new changes, that's still a net neutral buy pressure, because all the Leo that was earned was already bought back. So hopefully that makes sense. And I think it would be worth mentioning that a lot of people that will, even the people that sell Leo, the best place to sell Leo is on Maya protocol. So that means that you have to bridge to Arbitrum first and then swap it on Maya. So that means that, depending on what the bridge fee is at the time, just call it 1% for right now. If that person, let's say that 1,000 Leo gets distributed through the rewards pool, and let's just say that 500, so exactly half of that Leo gets sent to Arbitrum in order to be sold. Well, now 1% of that 500 Leo is 5 Leo that gets burned. So 495 Leo actually makes it to the market and gets sold. 5 of it gets burned, which means that it's deflationary. So there's a lot of kind of interesting economic impacts. Like right now, I think it's pretty common to talk about Leo in terms of like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of Leo being moved around, right? I think in these new changes, Leo becomes way more scarce, kind of like how Bitcoin has become. When you talk about moving Bitcoin around, you're typically talking about a fractional amount of Bitcoin. You're not, like, most people aren't moving around a full Bitcoin at a time. You're moving around like 0.1 Bitcoin, right? And even then, you're moving around 0.1 Bitcoin, and that's like $10,600 right now. So I think the way that we think of Leo and when it gets moved around, you start to think a lot less about you're going to be moving 1 million Leo around to you're going to be moving, 1,000 Leo around, but that 1,000 Leo will be a lot more valuable. So like right now, every day, I think the current amount earned is roughly 10,000 Leo per day. And if you include, so if you add it all up, if you say the Leo rewards pool and the Leo.voter rewards, all in, we're looking at like 10 to 15,000 Leo per day that gets earned. I think under these new changes, you're going to be looking at, let's just take the current price. I think you'd be looking at roughly, you're going to be looking at roughly 1,500 to 2,500 Leo that gets earned every day. So it is about a 1/10, about 1/10 the amount of Leo that's earned currently will be earned every day under these new changes. And that amount of Leo, so that's kind of like the starting point, right? Because that's using the current revenue and the current value of Leo. If Leo doubles in value, then the amount of Leo earned every day gets cut in half. So now you're earning, let's just call it 2,000. We'll cut that exactly in the middle. So let's say 2,000 Leos earned every day under the new changes at the current price, which is around 2 cents. If the price of Leo goes to 4 cents, it's reasonable to say that about 1,000 Leo a day is now going to be earned. And if the price of Leo 10x's from where it is right now, which is 2 cents, so let's say it goes to 20 cents. Instead of earning 2,000 Leo a day, the rewards pool will be paying out about 200 Leo per day. So you can see how that kind of, now the economy and the value and the incentives all work in lockstep. Right now it's all out of whack. It's like the amount of Leo earned every day is a static amount. It's about the same every single day, regardless of the price. If the price goes to $100, you've got, 15,000 Leo getting paid out every day at $100 per Leo. It's obviously like it gets sold on the market and the price goes down. So instead, this creates, a very dynamic economy that is actually aligned, where, the amount of Leo earned each day is aligned with the current value of Leo and the amount of revenue generated on INLEO. And again, we're just talking about INLEO here. We're not even talking about LeoDex. Self-help patrols. I'll make some sell pressure once you get the coin to $7. Just taking profits so I can retire early. Yeah, I mean, I think with the current economy, it's hard to imagine Leo being anything over, call it 10 cents. But with the new economic changes, I think it's a lot more understandable or viable to foresee like Leo being worth well over $1 and not even batting an eye at it. And there's going to be sellers on the way up. I'm pretty well convinced of that. Actually, my bull case is that we make all these changes. LeoDex continues to do well. Like we've been continuing to build its position in the market, for cross-chain and grow the revenue there. And, we see that grow over time. And over the next 3-4 months, while the protocol is buying 100% Leo for the protocol-owned Leo with LeoDex revenue, hopefully the Leo price starts going up and we just see, people start to sell. So like right now, Leo's at 2 cents. When it goes to 6 cents, that's like a 3x on anyone who's been buying recently. So, Leo goes up 3x and, some sellers enter the market and they sell. Well, guess who's the permanent buyer is the protocol owned Leo. So all that LeoDex revenue just soaks up whatever gets sold on the way up. And then, like I said, 4 months from now, in quotes, you see the amount of Leo owned by the protocol increase, and then after 4 months, it stakes it all in the Arbitrum contract, and then uses all the USDC it earns to buy Leo every single day. So I think I saw Self-Help Patrols asked, where does the USDC come from? So you're talking about when you stake Leo on Arbitrum in the new staking contract, and this will all be done through the LeoDex UI. So if you stake Leo on Arbitrum, you earn USDC each day. That USDC comes from the affiliate revenue from Thorchain, Maya, Chainflip, and then we're actually talking to a few other protocols that do different swaps, and we're going to add those as routes to LeoDex. So any of the protocols that generate affiliate revenue, all that affiliate revenue gets aggregated together, swapped into USDC on Arbitrum, and then deposited to the rewards contract, the staking contract that we deploy on Arbitrum. And then as a Leo staker on Arbitrum, you'll have a proportional claim to harvest those rewards each day. So you'll go to LeoDex. I mean, just picture in your head, there's a new Leo page on LeoDex. You go to this Leo page. On this page, you can move your Leo from Hive to Arbitrum, and then you can stake your Leo into the Arbitrum staking contract that we deploy. And then each day there's like a rewards tab, and you can click claim, and you'll be able to claim whatever USDC you have waiting to harvest in there. Long story short, the USDC comes from affiliate revenue, so it is very sustainable, and it's directly correlated to the growth of LeoDex. So the bigger that LeoDex becomes, the more USDC that gets earned, which, by the way, the protocol is earning alongside every other Leo staker. So, assume the LeoDex revenue 10x's. Now every Leo staker on Arbitrum gets 10 times more revenue, and one of those stakers, likely the biggest one, is the protocol itself, who takes 100% of its earnings and buys more Leo and stakes it, and then more the next day. So again, an environment for Leo to succeed, but that doesn't mean its success is guaranteed. It just means that the environment is set up in such a way where, if LeoDex grows in revenue, then the Leo token will grow in value.
What,
said, would you change the reward system to variable, or will it remain at 6,000 emissions? The reward system is going to 0. So there is no more emissions of any kind. So with the new changes, there's 0 emissions, and the rewards pool on INLEO is solely funded by buybacks. Like I said, it should be about 2,000-ish Leo per day. Yeah, self-help for trolls. So that's actually a good point. He said, I may not sell at $7. I guess it'll just earn passive income. Well, passive, I don't know if I'd call it completely passive. So to earn, you have to stake in the contract and you have to vote on any DAO issues. So not perfectly passive, but if you're actively using your Leo stake, kind of like on INLEO, right? Like you can earn curation rewards, but you have to curate. So same on LeoDex, you have to earn, you have to stake it in order to earn, and then when there's DAO issues, your stake has to be used to vote on DAO issues. But anyways, what I was thinking of is, why would anyone buy Leo today, and why would anyone hold that Leo in the future? So that is kind of one of the big answers to that question is, well, you would buy it so that you can be active in the economy of Leo, and because you believe in the growth in the revenue models on both INLEO and LeoDex, especially on LeoDex. So I could foresee a future where, you buy Leo and stake it because it earns $1,000 a month, for example. So again, it's all contingent on LeoDex revenue growing, LeoDex volume growing is really the fundamental premise here. Like if the LeoDex volume doesn't grow, I don't see the Leo token succeeding. So we need to really focus, literally on one of my screens, I have the LeoDex volume every single day, and I'm just watching it, thinking about how can we improve it, how can we get more. But you look at the other interfaces in the space, like Thor Wallet today did $7 million in volume, which is $30,000 in affiliate revenue. So imagine if all the Leo stakeholders on the Arbitrum contract earned a share of $30,000 in just today, USDC rewards. So I don't know what the yield would be on that, but it would be pretty ridiculous. Well, I can actually just do quick on-air math. So let's say $30 million times 365 is, what is that, $10,950,000 a year. So let's say that 50% of all Leo gets moved to the Arbitrum staking contract. That'd be about 15 million Leo, which at the current price today, 15 is $300,000 is the current value of 50% of Leo. So now you would take 10 million divided by this amount. The staking APR would be 3,650% APR. And that's without compounding. So that's just APR, not APY. So yeah, that would be a pretty good incentive to buy Leo and stake it. So again, and this is happening with Thor Wallet right now. Like I'm not, yeah, this partly is just theory, but it's also in practice because these other UIs are doing that kind of volume. You've got Thor Wallet that did 7 million today. And by the way, the day's not over. AsgardX did 6 million. And then the next biggest is ThorSwap, which did 500,000. So this type of volume is out there. It's entirely possible.
All about volume up. Number up, except for now, number of transactions up.
Mortiz said, is it better to buy, Mitch, I don't know if you're muted. I don't know if you're muted or not.
Oh, I might be.
I can't hear you. I don't know if you've been talking any of this time, but.
Oh, my mic went bye-bye again.
I can't hear you on the space. I can hear you on Restream now, but I just realized I was ranting for 30 minutes and hadn't heard from you.
Yeah, I was wondering why I wasn't getting responses. It looked like I dropped from spaces. I just
invited you to speak again. Let's see.
Dude, spaces has been miserable today.
I know.
I keep joining.
Unfortunately, so many people use it, so that's why we're kind of, I feel like forced to use it, but I would much rather not even use it. I'd rather use just our YouTube streams.
And I'm not back.
It says you're speaking.
How about now? Did I fix it?
Yep, now I can hear you.
Dude, so annoying. Yeah, honestly, I at this point forgot what it is that I said.
I was just ranting and raving. I didn't hear from you, and then I was like, wait, I see his lips moving.
I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, no. I said something, but then you started reading a question, so I thought you were just zoned in.
Oh.
That's funny. Did I lose the Threadcast? No, here we go. Yeah, I don't know what's going on between the spaces today and then like the Threadcast not showing up at the top of the main page on INLEO. All sorts of quirks today in Techland. Brando asked, is it possible to see Leo on CoinGecko, CryptoRank, etc. when the tokenomics are live? I'm assuming the answer to that's always going to be no, right?
What was the question?
Because asked about seeing Leo on CoinGecko and CryptoRank and sites like that when the new tokenomics go live. And my assumption is the answer is no, even with the new tokenomics, because at the end of the day, I don't know. Could it be? I guess in theory, I feel like
it already is. So it's
there you go.
Yeah, it's not Leo HE. So Hive Engine Leo. It's right now BLEO is on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, and Arbitrum Leo will. So again, part of these changes is that and I've talked about this with Task, but the question of what is the real Leo is really more a matter of perspective. The real Leo is whichever the community decides is the real Leo, right? So I consider Leo with these new changes, the native Leo token is Arbitrum. And every other version of Leo is a wrapped version of Leo. So Leo on Hive Engine, and right now the only reason why it's different is because Hive Engine Leo is where the rewards pool contract is, where inflation is created. So it's much more perception-wise, it makes more sense that Leo natively is on Hive Engine because that's where the inflation comes from. So new tokens are created on Hive Engine, and then they can be wrapped to the other chains. Once the inflation is turned off, I will change all the documentation, et cetera, so that Leo is natively considered an Arbitrum token, and HE Leo is a wrapped version of Leo, the same as BLEO and PLEO. So basically Leo, and you'll notice that when we launched Leo on Arbitrum, we just named it Leo. And the reason why was because I basically planned this since then, that this was a very firm possibility. So, when we launched it, we just called it Leo. And so now from the future, in the future, we'll just call it, when you say Leo, we'll assume it's Arbitrum Leo that you're talking about. And then otherwise you'll say HE Leo, which is Hive Engine Leo, or P Leo, which is Polygon Leo, or B Leo, which is BSC Leo. So the real Leo is Arbitrum Leo. And right now you can see BLEO on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, and then we're working on getting Leo on Arbitrum listed on those places as well. So, and yeah, Ben has said, can the real Leo please stand up? Yeah, the real Leo is Arbitrum. 8D chess. Yeah, I mean, the roadmap for Leo is very extensive, and this was one item on it that I always wanted to do. It takes a long time. It's not something that you do overnight. While we've been talking, we had a huge swap. Well, huge relative for us, $18,000.
Nice.
Pretty solid. Pretty solid. Our numbers weren't looking too great for the day, but that really put us up there.
All it takes is some whales swapping.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to start, really as an ecosystem, we should start talking about, the Leo growth and start projecting things. And Task has already started doing this. He's doing a really good job of it. Looking at the other interfaces out there in cross-chain and saying, okay, well, how can LeoDex start getting more of this revenue? That is really the key. So we need to keep looking at these other interfaces. One thing you'll learn if you go and look at like Thor Wallet, Thor Swap, AsgardX, and others, 90%, maybe even 95% of all their trading volume comes from a small group of whales. So there are a lot of users. There's like 20,000 daily active users of Thorchain, but I would say well over 90% of the daily volume, which is north of $150 million per day, comes from a small group of whales. And the whales are probably always changing, right? Like it's not like, okay, we're going to come back each day to swap. I don't think that's the case. I do think that there's like a group of whales that kind of float in and out. Some days they make a trade, some days they don't. But at the end of the day, like you see the biggest trades are like, $2 million at a time or $500,000 at a time. And that's really the majority of trading volume. So if we want to grow our volume, volume is the leaderboard, it's the scoreboard. If we want to grow our volume, we need to tap into that whale economy that's out there. So I've been really thinking a lot about that. I think one big thing that we were missing was the ability to send assets. So now that we have that, I do think that it helps us out a lot. Lord Shock, can we send a private memo? No, I don't think so, because it works with memos on that chain, right? Like if you send ETH anywhere, is it a private memo? That's more like if you were to deposit ETH to like a central exchange from there, for example, they require a memo sometimes. Depends on the asset. Like Hive, obviously they require a memo.
Memos for the world to see only.
Yeah. Self-help patrol. So if I keep my Leo where it is, Hive, Engine, Leo would not follow the price of Leo on Arbitrum. No, the price of Leo on all the different bridges is identical. So it's all managed. So bot, you'll see arbitrage Leo on the different exchanges. So the price is always roughly the same, and you could basically like add in a little buffer for the bridging fee percentage, because basically these bots are calculating, if I buy Leo on Arbitrum and bridge it to Hive Engine and sell it, there's a calculation there of how they can profit from the arbitrage. So the prices are always roughly the same. But every time, and I like to call it pass and go, because every time a bot or user bridges to Arbitrum or BSC or Hive Engine or Polygon, every time they bridge with the new changes that aren't live yet but will be soon, a small amount of Leo gets burned. So they pay a small fee for pass and go. That's how I like to look at it. So, the economy is really shaping up in a nice way, in my opinion, with these changes, where volatility is actually a really good thing, because the more volatility you have, the more arbitrage that happens, and the more that users may move funds around the bridge, which means that more Leo gets burned. So Leo just continually gets more and more burn action every single day. So I think when these changes go live, final LEO supply, let's just say, just to have a round number, is roughly 30 million. So roughly 30 million LEO exists. And then that the supply of LEO will always be less than 30 million, because every day you have a little bit of LEO getting burned, and every day the supply goes from 30 million to 29 million, 999,000, right? And then the next day it's slightly less, slightly less, slightly less. LEO becomes more scarce over time. The LeoDex protocol-owned liquidity, I think we should call it protocol-owned LEO, which is still POL. I just think it's a fun play on words. So the protocol-owned LEO is earning USDC on LeoDex alongside all the other Arbitrum stakers for LEO, and using that USDC it earns to buy more LEO. So the supply is deflationary, and the protocol is owning more LEO over time, which means that LEO is more and more and more scarce. And I see a future where you make a blog post and you might earn 1 LEO for that blog post. I'm not talking about tomorrow, but in the future, maybe you earn 1 LEO for that blog post, or maybe you earn 0.1 LEO. But the value of that LEO that you earn is high. And that is kind of the future that I'm trying to get us to, where, right now you earn like 100 LEO, and that's like, $2. And that kind of reminds you of the early days of Bitcoin, where you mined Bitcoin. You may earn 10 Bitcoin every other day, and right now that would be $1 million. But back then it was not worth $1 million. It was worth what was it worth? Probably 1/100th of that. So maybe it was $1,000 or $100. Lord Shah, I would recommend putting in a larger amount to save on fees. That actually looks like you make money. It's probably because the pools are imbalanced. Definitely a good trade to make. We just had another 10,000. I feel like this could be like a live call show. It'd be kind of fun. We just had another $10,000 swapper come through.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm looking at Lord Shah's.
Feels nice.
Lord Shah's post here. I'm like, wait, hold on. Is there an ARB opportunity? I might just go swap some stuff and make a few bucks.
Looks like there's an ARB opportunity. It looks like there's a lot of swapping volume happening on Thorchain right now.
It's a TCY. I had sold all my TCY when it pumped. I swapped it from TCY into Rune on LeoDex, and I've been holding that Rune. I mean, the Rune's down from when I did that, but I'm assuming so is the price of TCY. I haven't even looked, actually. Now I'm curious.
You're going to be upset when you see it.
Son of a bitch. So I should have kept my TCY.
Well, TCY has just been performing really well with the dip. It basically didn't dip, and now it's at like 37 cents.
Oh, well, no, it's fine then. I swapped
crazy.
out.
I mean, like Rune went from like $2.30 to $1.60.
I'm golden.
TCY went from 40 to 35.
I'm good to go. I swapped out a TCY at 49 cents.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I swapped into Rune. Rune at the time, I think, was at like 205 or something. So they both dipped. I think percentage-wise, I'm actually ahead.
Oh, there you go.
That's what when I saw it pump like that, because like that was my ultimate target for TCY. Like, who knows? Maybe it'll get to $1. I don't know. But I'm like, if this thing ever gets to 50 cents, like I'm ghost. And that was my initial plan when I thought I was gonna get at least a little bit of size. But I happened to be out of town that week, so I just grabbed a small little amount the day after, and so then when I saw it poke above 50, I was like, why not? Like that percentage return, it's going to take me years to earn that in yield. So flipped it and put it in Rune and letting the Rune do its thing. But yeah, the swaps worked good. I had no problems.
I think the swaps are working pretty flawlessly. And if you guys do have feedback, again, we thrive on the feedback. So tag us literally anytime, anywhere with the feedback. It's extremely valuable to us. Zero Darts. Nice. Also, welcome to INLEO, because Zero Darts is from X and the Zcash community. Looks like he made a INLEO account. So welcome, everybody. Go
Nice.
say him in Threadcast. Maya is the Maya APIs are down right now. So I also tried to quote a Zcash swap, and it's not, none of the Maya routes are working at the moment. So as soon as those are back online, sometimes they go offline for a short period of time. You'll see them come. But the Thorchain and Chainflow routes are live, and then as soon as the Maya APIs start reading something back, it'll reset itself.
Good old Maya. She's such a fickle lady. Come on, APIs.
I see a question from Django. Well, someone tagged Django and put it in here. I don't know if he's listening to this. There's no route for Litecoin to Leo. So make sure you check the routes for different assets. One thing I do want to add, actually, I need to make a note of this because I was going to add it and I forgot. One thing that we need to ask is a route suggestions feature, because what I've noticed is like people will go and try to do Litecoin to Leo, and that's not a possible route. There is no Litecoin to Leo route because Litecoin is on Thorchain and Leo is on Maya. We are actually working on an aggregator. We've been working on it for a while. It's not live yet, but in the future, we may be the first ones to build this. So we'll see, but the team is working on it. Anyways, if you want to do Litecoin to Leo, you're going to have to do Litecoin to something that is tradable on both Thorchain and Maya. So probably the easiest one is going to be Rune. So you'd have to go Litecoin to Rune on Thorchain because Litecoin's on Thorchain. Then you have to go from Rune to Leo, and that's through Maya. LeoDex will do all that routing for you. You just have to do the first swap and then do the second swap. So go from Litecoin to Rune, and then from Rune you can go to Leo.
So
I don't know if you're still listening.
I mean, I think we did this once before, but like, so right now, what's the easy button for someone to see if a route exists? It's basically bring up the coin they want to swap, and then in the bottom box, essentially only what's available is going to be clickable, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. So you actually have to like go through the process of like selecting the assets. So like you have to select Litecoin to Leo and then realize it says no routes exist, and then select, okay, well, Litecoin to Rune, that exists. And then you know that Rune exists on Maya. So it is not the most friendly user experience. And yeah, I'm going to work on that with the team. So Lord Shah, he even tried Rune as well. The other thing I said is that he's only trying to swap like $9, and I don't think that that's enough, especially for a Litecoin swap.
I got $9.
So yeah, he's probably gonna have to try more. What he should try is quoting a route for like one Litecoin and then say, okay, well that works. And then if that works, then you know that the amount is too small.
Oh, I'm also confused. All right, ETH. I'm trying to mess around right now. It's buying off. Oh, that's why it's not enough. Same problem. Oh, I thought I had a little more. I thought I had a little more ETH than that sitting in this wallet. I thought it was like, I don't know, 20, 30 bucks worth. Apparently it's not. Wrong wallet. I was going to see if I could arb a few pennies in the positive selling some ETH dust, so to speak. I don't even know what else I got. No Bitcoin. Good old Thor.
Lord Shah, he has to increase the amount to more than $10 or even bigger. Possibly, it can be a moving target because it has to do with gas. But yeah, I mean, probably more than $10 is usually a good starting point. Let me quote a Litecoin swap and see. Litecoin to, let's just say Rune. If I quote a $9 swap, it says it quotes. So I'm not really sure what his problem is exactly, but maybe it gives an error if you try to do that much. But yeah, like a 0.1 Litecoin swap quotes for me. And I see other people swapping Litecoin. So I'm not really sure exactly what his issue, like, is he getting an error message? Is he just not able to get a route? I don't really know. He should open a tech support ticket, though, if he wants, like, one-on-one help. iJats asked if we plan to add PayJoin for privacy and scalability. There's no plans right now. If enough people requested it, we could always look into adding it. But honestly, that's the first I've heard anybody mention it. So probably not soon, but you never know. Lord Shah, when you're trading an asset across chains, I wouldn't expect, if you're going to do well, think about it this way. If you're going to swap $10 worth of Bitcoin, or let's just make it even more basic. Let's say that you want to give your friend crypto. Are you going to send him $10 worth of Bitcoin? Probably not, because the Bitcoin block fees are, likely around $10. Kind of the same thing with ETH, right? Like, ETH's fees have actually been a little bit better lately, but let's just say, would you normally send someone $1 worth of ETH? Probably not, because it's too small and your gas fees are going to get eaten up. Well, now consider that a cross-chain swap is literally just 2 cents on the 2 different blockchains. So let's say you're doing a Bitcoin to ETH swap, you're sending Bitcoin and then ETH is being sent as well. So now there's 2 gas fees getting paid. There's a Bitcoin gas fee and an ETH gas fee. So would swapping $10 from Bitcoin to ETH make sense if you're going to pay $8 on the Bitcoin fee and $1 on the ETH fee, and now you're left with $1? So the way that LeoDex works and all cross-chain platforms work is that it takes that into account, and it doesn't let you do a swap for like $8 because you'll get nothing. Because once the gas fees are all taken out, you're done. So yeah, Monk Masters. Like I said, it's a moving target. So if the gas fees are lower at the time, then yeah, you might be able to do less too. So and also that has nothing to do with LeoDex, Lord Shah. It's entirely that's the cross-chain routes, that affect that. So, again, if you don't think it's a good user experience, then you could use a centralized exchange. But keep in mind that by the time you deposit that Litecoin to a centralized exchange, and then they also do have trading fees that are just kind of hidden. You end up depositing it, you pay a fee on the gas side, then you swap it or trade it on SEX to whatever you want, and then you withdraw it to something else, you're going to pay another gas fee. So yeah, it's cross-chain's not meant for people swapping $10. Just to be completely honest with you, you can. There's definitely routes where you can swap $10. I saw someone, for example, someone swapped 10 USDT on ETH to $9 in Litecoin. So they only ended up paying $1 in gas fees. But $1 on a $10 swap is 10%. So they paid a 10% fee. And LeoDex doesn't charge any affiliate fees for anything under $100. But that swap still costs that person 10% fees because of the gas fee. So it doesn't really make sense. Brando, that's a centralized exchange. So, but it's a centralized exchange that is only on one chain. So, yeah, it's, be prepared for, when you're doing real cross-chain swaps, you're going to be paying gas fees. So LeoDex at least pre-fills all that information for you. Ben Hass said, what would be the biggest piece of the revenue pie, LeoDex or bridges? Well, I would look at it as 3 main islands. You've got INLEO, which has premium revenue, et cetera. And then you've got LeoDex, which has the affiliate revenue from swaps. And then you've got the bridges, which are burning their revenue anytime anyone passes go. I think LeoDex out of the 3 will be the vastly largest. Well, here's the crazy thing. We've only been at this since April, which is not even 2 months. And LeoDex has already outpaced everything else in terms of revenue. So it is already the largest of the 3. And I just expect that to grow. I expect that to grow precipitously in the future.
Speaking of the future, what do we think of the future of crypto on a whole? Because we could probably wrap up because I got to bounce, creeping up on 1:30.
Yeah, good questions today from everybody. We've got a lot. good ones.
A lot of LeoDex questions, which is good.
Yeah, it is good. Well, my focus lately has, I mean, Bitcoin's obviously been performing pretty well. We're at 106K. ETH has actually been showing a little bit of signs of life, which is nice. I've been focused on Rune pretty heavily lately, obviously, and TCY as well. But Rune's been a big focus of mine in terms of the broader crypto market. So I've just been accumulating. I feel like it's super cheap, honestly. Like $1.75 right now is, to me, an absolute steal on Rune. And I just keep buying Rune and bonding it. So the bonding APR is like 12% or so right now. So I've been buying a bunch of Rune, putting it into bonds or into yield, and really just. I think it's obvious that you've got like Rujira, which is the app layer, and then you've got XRP, which is a new chain integration that's about to go live. And then TCY went really well. The launch was very successful. So now Thorchain is clear of bad debt because TCY was successful, and it's adding new integrations in the form of XRP and Solana and many other chains in the future. I would say the next kind of big thing is going to be Rujira, which is the app layer. And what's really big about that is that the app layer is like a whole new, kind of step function change in what's new on Thorchain, because now any team can build any contract because it's a smart contracts platform, essentially. So any team can now start launching smart contracts on Thorchain's app layer. So it uses the base layer to secure the assets, but different contracts can start living on Thorchain. And what's really cool about this is there's a lot of other teams like Nami and others that we've been talking to, and LeoDex is going to be integrating all these different contracts. So you can, I think in the next like 3 to 6 months, LeoDex, like right now we're perfecting like base layer, cross-chain swaps, sends, our dashboards, the TCY features, referrals. We're just making that as perfect as we can right now. Because I think 3 to 6 months from now, all these new products are going to come out, all these new contracts for perps, so like futures trading, index products, and that's the Nami team that's doing a lot of that stuff, and a ton of other features that are like, really like expanding the portfolio of what can be offered cross-chain, and LeoDex is going to have all these things. So right now we're just making sure we can get all the wallet connections, all the swaps, all the sending, the basic features perfected, and then get ready for, perps and all these other things, because that's going to be a huge change in the way that cross-chain UIs work. And I think LeoDex is really uniquely positioned right now because we're like fresh, brand new to the market. We're making a name for ourselves. You kind of see, one of my strategies and I have a few different strategies for how we're growing LeoDex revenue or volume, but one of my key strategies to growing LeoDex volume is the launches. So, like TCY's launch, the Zcash launch on Maya, the upcoming XRP launch. LeoDex is going to be the first to market for all of these things. So we were the first UI to have TCY. We're the first UI to have Zcash. We're going to be the first UI to have XRP, and then we're going to iterate from there. And the way we're trying to make a name for ourselves in cross-chain is just by being really fast. Really fast to integrate, and then really loud when it comes to, that integration and marketing it, and getting involved with the community. So, for example, with Zcash, I've been trying to get really involved with talking to different people in the community. And I'm working on getting a good guest for tomorrow for the Chain Chatter. So make sure you set a reminder for tomorrow's Chain Chatter at noon Eastern, because we're going to have a really good guest for that from the Zcash community. So doing all that stuff, and then obviously when XRP goes live, I'm going to do all the same. So anyways, I ended up taking the market rant and pushing it into Leo stuff. But Rune has been a heavy focus, but obviously Leo has been a heavy focus. So, these tokenomic changes to Leo have me very excited about the Leo token itself and price action. But again, I just want to keep reiterating, don't buy Leo unless you buy into the idea of, LeoDex revenue growing. I think that's like the lead indicator. That's the big caveat to everything. It's like, yeah, we can make all these environmental changes so that the Leo token itself is set up for success. but real success only happens from LeoDex volume growing. So we'll see what happens. But I would say my two big bets right now are Rune and Leo. What's your take on the market, Mitch?
I don't know. I'm just hodling. Hodl the Bitcoin, hodl the Leo. Same thing with Rune. A couple other coins, and we'll see. I don't know if Bitcoin's going to do one more leg up this summer to finish out this bull market or not. And I think every other coin kind of, to an extent, is impacted by that. So yeah, we get an alt market, of course, where Bitcoin's not going up and the alts are going up. But I just feel like that's not the environment at this moment. So I think Bitcoin's the lead horse still. So hopefully it legs up again, and we'll see alts come up with it. And then maybe at that point, if it tops out, alts will make, one more run, as has been, kind of similar in the past. But doesn't mean it'll happen again. So just in a wait and see mode. Technically, Bitcoin's price action is generally bullish overall still. So till that changes.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think excitement is pretty guaranteed here. It's Bitcoin has really. I think it's crazy how much Bitcoin has performed, and altcoins are just getting demolished.
Yeah, I think it's very unexpected. Maybe that makes sense.
At 64. Have you seen that recently?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's completely unexpected. I don't think anyone thought dominance would get that high, so that probably makes sense that it happened, because everyone was expecting the altcoins to run, because it's like, all right, Bitcoin dominance is up to X level that it hasn't been at since 3 years ago, whatever, last bull market. So I think that's what happens when everyone has the same opinion. Usually that's not what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
So
do you see a more heavy, maybe it's a delayed but heavier altcoin market? Is that what you see happening?
I don't know, honestly. I think that it's not. I think all the alt darlings from especially three cycles ago, but even 2 cycles ago, aren't getting new love, and they're even probably losing some of their loyalists. I feel like Ethereum is a classic example of that. And there's not as many new alts in terms of actual projects that people are get involved in. There was obviously the meme coin, Solana meme coin mania, the first, it's still going on now, but really the first, few months of this year and the last few months of last year, I think a lot of money got dumped into those that might have went into actual projects. But the narrative just feels different to me. And I don't know that the alt market's going to be the same as the past as far as every altcoin just, ripping. I think you're going to have some outperformers, and I think you're going to have coins that never end up doing that much, and people sitting there pissed off, which I guess happens in any market. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if there's some name brand coins that don't ever really have a big move if there is an alt market.
Yeah.
But again, this is just my guess, purely on just feel and vibe. So.
Yeah. I mean, vibe and feel is, especially when you've been in the market as long as you have, and I've been around for a while also, it's actually can be a pretty good indicator for things.
Yeah. So I don't know. I have enough alt exposure. Like I said, I'm just continuing to build my Bitcoin position, mainly my Bitcoin liquidity position, because I want to earn yield on my coin, and Bitcoin in theory is the safe bet. And I have enough alt exposure. Would maybe more Rune or more Sui be nice in terms of those as my asymmetrical bets? Sure, but I think I got enough that it'll still be worth it if we get any kind of big move in those coins. So more is always better, but I always have that problem anyway. I never seem to have enough, so I'm just not going to sweat it. I'm going to just ride with where I'm at and see what happens. But I'm still kind of heavy Bitcoin right now in terms of best place. but that can easily change in 3 months. So this is a very short-term view. This is over the next few months. I still think Bitcoin's the play for me, and then I'll just hold on to everything else. I mean, I got plenty of Leo, so good there. Let that do its thing.
Yeah, like I said, we're to create the environment for Leo to succeed, and then whether it succeeds or not is going to be dependent on the LeoDex volumes. So we'll make the environment and see then we'll just continue focusing like we have been on making the volumes grow, and adding features and making the platform better, creating the best UI UX we can for cross chain. That's really what matters, and then hopefully the Leo token follows suit with that.
Word. All right. Well, I believe I will be around next week. I got Hoogie because got a bunch to do today before I jump on a plane tomorrow morning, because apparently I'm going up north to swing hammers for a few days because there's just too much work to do and not enough workers.
All right. Well, good luck with that. Thanks for joining today. Real estate. It's the real estate.
Yeah. Fun times. It's a liquid and slow, but I guess it
is reliable.
Yes, it's the yin to my crypto yang.
Yeah, it's becoming the same for me as well, and it's much needed.
Yeah, but there's always battles with that, as we both know, in terms of getting things done.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool.